If you're watching this video now, you've probably heard of shadow work, or you done at least like a dozen of different exercises. It's like there's so much out there that you can do in order to explore your subconscious and get like more clarity around your shadow parts, integrate your shadow, reclaim projections, all of these things that we do in our self-actualizing and healing journey. Today, I want to talk about a topic that I find is underrepresented when it comes to shadow work, and that is the connection between your shadow and your body. Because I would say that you cannot do shadow work without doing somatic work as well. Your shadow, to some degree, is living in your body. Because let's say, for example, something is triggering you. Let's say you're experiencing a projection. Where do you experience these things? It has two dimensions. The first is your mind. You have thoughts going on. You have maybe visual images. If you've been into the Jungian approach to doing shadow work, then you've probably worked with parts work or active imagination, all of these things. That's the first layer. But the second layer is the body. When you're triggered, it's always connected with a feeling that you are experiencing on a somatic level. And in the shadow work and healing space, we're working a lot with the shadow that is functioning up here. And I'm not saying this is not working. I love it. It's caused me like a great deal of progress on my healing journey and like helped me in the connection with myself. But I found out that there is a connection between the shadow and the body. And I want to talk about that today. And I want to introduce this topic with a very simple but profound observation that I made throughout my life. So when I was talking to people, it was the first time this occurred to me. I was talking to people and I was listening to myself speaking. You know, I've done a bit of meditation, I've done a bit of somatic work, and I got like a good degree of distance between me and my experience and my my feelings and my words. So I was able to listen to myself. And what I noticed then was that some words that I spoke made me shrink, and some words or sentences that I spoke made me expand more. And I was like, isn't that interesting? It's almost like my body is responding to what I'm saying. It's like not only am I listening, like the observer, and the person that I'm in a conversation with is listening. No, my body is listening and even responding as well. And then I thought, wow, like how can I work with that? So there's expansion and there's contraction happening towards my words. Okay. And then I played a bit with that. Then I played with the subtle movements of opening and closeness, and I was more getting into the analysis of what is actually behind these words that caused me to shrink. And of course, these were my shadow topics. These were moments in which shame arose in my body and covered my experience, and I almost felt like hiding, and I said something and I'm not really worth it, or no, that's not really me who's talking. No, I don't want to have that experience. I was shrinking away from myself, from life. And then as I further investigated, I found out that my body is not only responding to things I say, it's responding to thoughts that I have. It's responding to decisions that I make, to places that I go. My body is responding to the entirety of my inner and outer experience. My body is a resonance body. You can imagine a guitar, for example. A guitar has like the strings attached to it. It has the neck and you can tune up here. And it also has the body. And there is no sound without the body, because the body of the guitar, it is what's giving the notes their essence. It's what's reverberating with the strings and with the chords. So the body is that thing which is in constant communication with the strings and with the chords that you're playing. It's either, the vibration of this body is dependent on the notes that you play, on the intensity that you play with. And the same thing is true for your physical body. And that is where somatic shadow works comes into play. So whenever you make a decision, for example, whenever you enter a room, whenever you go into any sort of experience, start noticing how your body is reacting. Is it shrinking or is it expanding? And once your body is shrinking, that could also be like very tiny movements. For example, something is making you angry and you're like, oh God, okay, I feel something here and fuck, this is really, really exhausting. And you're like wrestling with the feeling. That's when you know that a shadow part is arising within you. You can only notice it through the body. And what you're doing then is you either allow the feeling or you suppress the feeling. But usually when shadow material is arising in our body and we get triggered, our first impulse is to suppress that trigger, is to put shame over it, is to say, no, that anger that is showing up here is not really welcome, no. And even shadow work can make this topic, like this pattern, even worse, because we can say, oh yeah, I'm triggered. Yeah, that's my shadow coming up. And no, that's not really how I am really now. Like I need to do more shadow work. Like I'm triggered. It's like, it's all shame. How about this? How about you welcome the entire spectrum of your experience unconditionally? You just allow that shadow to rise up. And that's, for me, is the next stage of meditation, by the way. I think meditation is like a great tool. But to me, the real shadow work fun begins once I realize I have thoughts, I am not my thoughts. And instead of just putting them on a shelf and be like, yeah, thoughts, not really interesting. I'm just here for the non-dual juiciness of life. That's great as well. But to me, the real fun begins when I start taking these thoughts, taking these images, taking these feelings from the shelf and start looking at them from my witnessing awareness. So what does that mean practically? When I'm triggered, the degree of depth you have towards your shadow is the degree of witnessing presence that you can have towards whatever is coming up. So shadow work and witnessing presence are best friends. They live in the same road. They play in the same band. You cannot witness something that you have suppressed. So we are here, as Carl Jung said, to make the unconscious conscious. And in order to do that, we have to notice, we have to witness what is coming up. And the embodied dimension is underrepresented, in my view. So what are you doing when a trigger is coming up? What are you doing with the thing that I call somatic shadow work? First of all, I already mentioned the two movements, contraction and expansion. And whenever something is contracting within you, what you're doing is not you get into analyzing mode and you do like your various shadow work techniques and you start journaling. You can do that. I want to offer you a different perspective, which is you get in touch with this shadow somatically. How does that look like? It's very simple, but it's extremely difficult at the same time because it demands a certain degree of connection with your body and it demands a certain endurance towards a feeling. So let's say I'm angry. I'm triggered by something that I've read online. Let's go with that example. And I'm almost about to like type in something aggressive into the comment section. I'm like, yeah, this guy doesn't believe in flat earth theory. And, I need to attack him. He's the bad one. I'm the good one. Okay. That's a pretty big level of, dissociation and unchecked shadow arising there. But let's say you're angry in that moment. You saw something and it's making you angry. So instead of asking myself, oh, why am I angry? Is this like a pattern? Is this and that shadow topic? Is it like my golden shadow? Am I like, yes, is it like a social hierarchy kind of thing? I need to journal. I need to do like active imagination. Let's put all of these things are nice. Let's put them to the side for a moment and just be with the feeling. I talked about the next stage of meditation. To me, that's being with the feeling and observing it with a sense of curiosity and, if possible, even compassion, openness. Like, hey, you're here. Almost like you open the door and like a visitor came in and you're like, okay, let's sit down at the table. I'm open to listen to you. So you're sitting down at your somatic table and you feel the anger. And the first thing you do is you localize that feeling of anger. It's maybe somewhere here, solar plexus, chest, something like that. And then you're doing nothing. It's really, it's really simple. And at first hard to understand, but let's assume you're doing nothing. You're just observing and being with it. You're not altering anything. You're focusing on that contraction and you're exploring it. Like, is it warm? Is it cold? How does it feel like? Is it moving? Is it more stagnant? And simultaneously, you let arise whatever wants to arise. You let your body do what it wants to do for a moment. You let your breath do what it wants to do. You let your thoughts do what they want to do. Like maybe images are coming up. And the main point here is we are simply here to experience. We're not here to solve something. We can do the analyzing later, in the same way we would analyze a dream, for example. But for now, we want to stay in touch with the body. We want to stay in touch with that part that is coming up. Oh, there's a heat coming up here and it feels like angry and it's really hard for me to be with that part. And you're staying. You're staying in the experience. You're looking at it. And you start a conversation with that part. Say, hey, why are you here? What message do you have? Spontaneously arising within me is, I'm protecting you. You're too afraid you can't do it on your own. And then me, again, witnessing presence is the key here. Can I witness that? In parts work, we call that unblending. Can I detach myself from the experience of that part? And I might say something like, yeah, okay, that must be like a pretty tough job that you have, right? I understand you. And thank you for doing that job. And what I do in that moment is I talk to the feeling. I talk to the feeling. I always stay in touch with my embodied experience. Like there's no moment where I cut off from this feeling in my body. I'm being with it. I'm being with the trigger. I don't try to get rid of the trigger to some formula or shadow work formula or whatever. I'm simply experiencing it. I'm getting to know it. I'm building a relationship with the trigger. Because when we're connected with our bodies, we are accessing what psychologists call implicit memory. This is not the things you can like spontaneously remember about your childhood. No, it's a deeper layer of your subconscious that is arising. And it can only arise when you're connected to the feeling, when you're simply letting the feeling be and let the experience come to you. Let yourself not absorb the experience, but let yourself become a viewer, like the one who is experiencing the experience. Let yourself become that. Create closeness to that experience. And with that, like one step after another, if you make this a practice, then your body becomes your guide. Because you will, like the more you're in touch with your body, the more this opening and closing that I described in the beginning becomes your guide to whether something is made for you or not. I will probably do another video on that where I go into great detail about this, but this is so crucial. This is so crucial. There's something within you that knows what is right for you better than you do, better than your ego does. What is right for you and what is not right. And it's communicating that implicitly through your body. And that mechanism, that thing arising from your subconscious, that mysterious thing, that mysterious guide, you want to get to know it. You want to build a stable relationship with it through somatic witnessing, through letting your body do whatever it wants to do, and through letting that part say whatever it wants to say, through being curious, and through developing witnessing presence. And the more you do that, the more you will be in touch with life, the more vital you feel, and the better, I would say, your decisions will be. Like the path that you take through life is becoming more and more clear. You're not ruminating as much about decisions that you have to make, about things that might have gone wrong. It's like, no, it's all here. You're going from problem solving and like doing shadow work up here through getting into the experience of the shadow, which is here. The shadow is nothing to, the shadow will always be there. It's nothing to solve, nothing to solve. And ultimately, you will never grasp the full extent of your shadow because it will always be there. There will always be shadow parts. This is about building a connection with it. This is about starting to relate from it. So I hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, leave me a subscribe, leave a comment if something about that resonated within you. Leave me a like, and I see you in the next video. Bye-bye.